Hello everybody, my name is Tamara. As you heard, I come from Novi Sad. Novi Sad is European Capital of Culture in 2021. Sorry. Actually, I'm a bit stressed because I don't come from the cultural background. Before joining the team of the ECOC, I was working in marketing agency and marketing team of an IT company. But I've been part of the team of Novi Sad 2021 for some time, and I hope I will get to present our project as well as my colleagues from program would do this. Okay, I don't know how much do you know about Novi Sad. It is the capital of northern province of Serbia. And it is the second largest town after Belgrade, the capital. I'm telling this because many people that I met here, the first thing that they were asking me is about Novi Sad and how many inhabitants there is and how large it is. So in order to have the opportunity to compare the size of the town with some other capitals of culture, Novi Sad has 284,000 inhabitants, only the city area, and with suburbs it's about 400,000. It is the city of rich history, as every Balkan city is, because of the wars, because of the Habsburg monarchy, because of the fact that it was the part of Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the fact is that Novi Sad is a pretty young city. We celebrated recently its 271st birthday. So this is how many years the Novi Sad is a free royal town. And as far as the other assets of Novi Sad are in focus, I would like to say that Novi Sad is a 2019 European Youth Capital. And what would be good for you to know also is that Lonely Planet said for Novi Sad that in 2019 it's on the list or the third city that should be visited in this year. So they described it as a low-paced, slow-paced and elegant city. And it is actually, because the northern part of Serbia is presumed to be slow-paced part of our country. I think that the ECOC will try to make something different about our city. And that's why I wanted to, for you, before I start telling you about our program, about our vision, to say that, actually I would like to say one more thing. Novi Sad is also a town of minorities. We have 4 official languages: Serbian, Hungarian, Ruthenian, and Slovak. And we have more than 20 minorities in our town. So it's a city of diversity. Besides this, I'd like to translate also the meaning of the city, because many of you asked me what's the meaning of Novi Sad. Novi is new, and Sad, it means now, or it can be translated also like plant or orchard. That's why the vision of the project of the ECOC 2021 is the beginning of new now. And the beginning of new can be seen in many dimensions, but we sum it up into 4, and those are processes, people, places, and programs. And in order to explain it in detail, I will ask my friend to play a video, and on this one case study I could explain what this really means. So we could play the video. This is the video of the reconstruction of an old silk factory, which is the important site of the cultural heritage in the town. That in the last year it was reconstructed to become a cultural station. Okay, so what you saw now is just like
few sentences.
Okay, just one video that shows some kind of progress. But what actually this means, so as I'm from the communication sector, the decoding of this message is multi-layered. What you saw here is one space that is reconstructed. So we have a new space for culture and for citizen participation because they have space to produce their programs. What you saw also was this chimney installation, which was artist in residence installation. Also inside of this new cultural center or the station, you saw the exhibition. It is also a part of our artist in residence program. Outside, you saw the public. It was the first time that citizens of Novi Sad saw this place in a new way. And across this building, you could see the mural. The mural is also part of participation program. It was done by an artist. And what's important also, that the sentence says, only patience in time turn leaves into silk, mulberry leaves into silk, which is old Chinese proverb. But also, beneath this, you could see the ornaments or drawings. It were the drawings that school children from a local school did, which is also a project involving the community around the cultural stations. What you couldn't see in this video is that parallel with this reconstruction and opening ceremony, we had an international program with engineers of environment from Novi Sad that brought international volunteers who helped to reconstruct the neighbor around the cultural stations. So I think that I summed up in this video the vision of our participation dimension. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. And because we are here in Žalgiris Arena, in this basketball sanctuary, and I remember every time I have to say that every time I meet guys, they're mostly guys, men, from Serbia, sorry, and we always say that we have to do something together. We have to do a project together about basketball, the memories and history, because we have those shared memories. I don't know how many of you watched those. They're called games, yes. I don't watch basketball. Where Žalgiris was playing against Serbians. Do you know? Have you seen some of them? Yeah. And Tamara's colleague told that he was a small boy, but he remembers he was crying when Serbians were losing, and he remembers Sabonis and doing things like that. So we have shared memories, and it's so amazing how many things in relation we have with each other that sometimes we even don't know. Common things, things that connect us, and yeah.
Daiva, we have one more thing in common. that, now let me add with my monitoring panel member hat, is that we are having the logo of the European Union in common in all the European capitals of culture. And of course, I see it, and I just saw it, so congratulations to that. Congratulations to Galway. I noticed it, and I noticed it in the foyer here. But please, there are European capitals of culture that don't use the European Union logo, even in the opening ceremony. So please don't forget about it, because if you use Matera 2019 or Galway 2020 without adding European capital of culture and without adding the European logo, then Brexit might happen. So it's like
we don't want that.
Be more creative than the logo, but
happen.
please don't forget about the logo.
Okay, that's a good thing that you said that. I had a plan, a very serious introduction, but then I like things that are disruptive, and so you told those amazing, successful stories. But what people like the most, so stories of unsuccess. Yes, am I right? Can you share some really bad stories in the field of audience engagement? Do you have such stories, or all of them are beautiful, positive, amazing, rewarding?
The journey towards the 11 fountains has been a very, very interesting one. If you look at the project itself, it was challenging from several perspectives, because what you actually work on is not one project, but 11 projects with 11 different budgets, 11 different artists, but also creating art in public space, which usually already causes a lot of discussion, but in particularly if you do it in the inner city heart of historic city centers. What was most interesting, though, is that during the information evenings that we had in the community centers of all these cities, was that there was not so much discussion about the design of the fountain or the location of the fountain, but people became very, very emotional about the fact that not an artist from their community had the opportunity to design the fountain. So why do we have to work with 11 international artists? So that actually also made the discussion around the project quite difficult. And as it was also the first project that we started with after winning the European Capital of Culture title, because also from an infrastructural perspective, and if you look at permits and everything that you need, you just need those 5 years to really be open to be able to open the fountains in the year itself. That made the situation of other projects and the European Capital of Culture year itself also quite difficult, because the idea that arose was that the European Capital of Culture year was just for international artists, and finally there was extra money available for culture. It was just being spent on a contract with artists with the big names from all over the world, whereas there was a program which was open for all the artists from the entire city and the entire region, but because there was so much focus on this project and the cooperation with the international artists, that made it quite challenging in our case. And I thought what was most interesting, though, was that the debate continued actually till the 17th of May, and the 18th of May, when all of them opened, was never any debate about the design or the cooperation with the international artists anymore. Yeah.
Yes, I agree that the line between those two territories, the territory of experts and communities, people, the line is very unclear. Where is the line? Who has the last word to say? So yes, the main issues maybe arise from that challenge. Do you have any stories, Agnieszka?
No, because I actually was involved in ECOC only in the first pre-selection phase, so I didn't implement as ECOC.
Not in the ECOC context, but in your professional experience.
No, always full house of audiences.
But yes, you told one of not very successful story, so that counts. Yeah, the long symphony.
No,
orchestra,
in terms of
or-
attendance, it
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah, but-
In terms of their satisfaction from the experience, it was failure. So you know,
But that's
and
also an
always
important part of the
statistic in the way that you present it as a successful story or as a failure story. But I think what I noticed in my work as a cultural manager is also that I found my audiences much more interested in local artists than international artists. So then it was an extra challenging to actually link them and or encourage attendance in the events that only international artists took place, because I'm talking about independent, low profile artists, not first page pop art. So this was a challenge that maybe is worth to mention. That's why linking.
Yes, I think every city would have similar stories that locals are a little bit resistant to international artists, and that's also the challenge for program team.
Then
And
it's
you-
fantastic that for
Yes.
example, you put them in artists for a longer period of time in your community, and then they work together.
In your cities, Eleusis, yes, we learned it, is on this preparation phase. Is it everything very successful?
Not of course, as it is for all the European cities. I think for me one of the most difficult moments was when I was just outside from the shipyard that we went with Juan Sandoval, the artist, with the helmets, and to discuss about it, to present it. So it was, I felt like, it's the shipyard that probably it will be closed next month. So where I'm going to talk, why to talk about art when all these people living in such critical moments? So we be inside, we introduced the artists, talking, drinking coffee, have some moments, and they have the dialogue between the artist and the workers. And I said, okay. And one worker from downside just said, okay, and probably we can have the new world record for the helmets. Probably we'll have 10,000 helmets, so we will be in the record of the Guinness record. So everybody said, yeah, okay, let's do it. No, let's create something monumental. Let's create something that we can do it together. So everything changed, and the positive, and it was so positive to participate in such kind of project. It's sometimes you're trying to find a solution, and the solution is here, it's beside us. So it's the audience, it's you can think a lot of things, but I think the audiences have the answer. So you have to listen.
Daiva, can I add something? Because I think that on this theme of local and international artists, then we'll have the level playing field for everybody, from benefiting from my knowledge. Is that this is actually very important because you might not notice, but actually, you are still, majority of you are ahead of your ECOCs. The majority of your audiences will be local. And let's say about 80% of audiences will be local, and then the rest 20%, out of 20%, maybe 2% will be international, and the rest will be national, which means that you also have to have in mind the capacities of your audience of frequent attendance, of interest, and this is something that those of you who are ahead of your ECOCs, you can still address it and change its proportions. We really hope you change these proportions because we want it to be European event, but you know the reality is like this. So then it's an extra challenging programming, European program.
So that Agnieszka mentioned the expectations that are related to ECOC programs today, but I have to say they're really high. I would like to remind that ECOCs have to act as catalysts for a step change in the development of a city. They have to increase the self-esteem of citizens. They have to increase engagement with cultural offerings of the city, especially by audiences less likely to attend or participate. They have to develop new cultural offerings, new skills, new opportunities, and new international connections for artists and cultural organizations, and the list does not stop here. And but also ECOCs are perceived by their program teams as a platform for experimentation and innovation. But here we meet some challenges, and don't you think that some of the challenges start with the different notions of culture? So what about the notion of culture in the European Capital of European Capital of Culture context? Have you experienced some kind of resistance to broaden this notion?
Well, I definitely from the panel member side, I can say that we really hope for a lot of art in the culture part.
Okay.
Yeah. I can just say that we used, like I said in my presentation as well, a very broad definition of culture. So also sports for us is also culture. We also organized a big European sports events that showed all the traditional sports, regional sports in Europe, combined with cultural events around that again, of course. But it's more. Yeah, I would say like a horizontal ladder that you have. I mean, you need room for the big cultural institutions that were there already to organize blockbuster exhibitions. You need room for independent individual artists, citizens who want to develop projects, international curators that want to come to your city to work with audiences. And all these different projects together form a very interesting program. And if you leave, well, that's at least my opinion, if you leave one of them out, and it's just about the big, already established cultural organizations in your city, so if it's just about exhibitions or theater performances, then you just miss a lot of the also very interesting stuff, which also deals a lot with experimentation that you just spoke about.
Yeah, because I just will make some introduction, because from my experience, when you start a discussion with communities or cultural organizations or other stakeholders of this project, you have to start with the notion of culture, because we have different understandings what culture should be, and then you have to explain that this is maybe not an opera or elite culture project, but it has to. We have to have to find a balance. But here we meet different expectations what culture is and what it should be and should look like.
But maybe in the European context, we should speak about cultures rather than culture. Just to throw a little.
I would like to add something.
Sure.
For example, in Novi Sad, as I am also aware of what are the comments on our social media, the citizens of Novi Sad write to us about some communal problems of the city, telling us about garbage at some part of the city. This is also culture, but at the point we are not really engaged in this part of...
Why not? You have your municipality that is paying for your bills, so they can also clean the garbage.
Okay, Okay.
that you animate, you know.
Okay. Okay. So this is it. And when you say about notion of culture, it is also a different dimension, which is trust in how would it be undertaken. People in Novi Sad don't have really trust in cultural institutions at all. No, not at all. But it's low trust in cultural institutions. So I guess they are used to one type of the content that the cultural institutions are producing, and now we see ourselves as the mediators or the middlemen between the citizens and the institutions and the programs, and in order to build this capacity and to engage citizens into participants.
Yeah, and this will bring a big legacy of the project.
Yeah.
Okay, it was very interesting case, Eleusis, when culture and the audience and are understood in quite a different way. And what do you think? How to include someone by not excluding someone else? Do you have any recipe, any of you? It was hard, eh?
Yes. I think that, okay, it's one of the first things that you have to do is to do a mapping, cultural mapping, so you can know where to who you are going to ask to participate, or for who you are working. So it's a matter of time, but also I think it's a challenge not to exclude. But there are people that they exclude themselves. They don't want to participate. So we have to respect it. But it's a challenge also to give them time and space to participate. And that's why we're talking that it's a process and not a celebration year 2021 for us. I think, as I know, we start the youth labs. Youth labs is like a program that you are doing here in Kaunas. So we start with five young people, and now we are 25. So mouth by mouth and time by time, I think that people hear, listen, and trust us. And I don't know, I hope that we will not exclude.
Agnieszka, please contribute. Do you have any recipe?
You are actually in quite luxurious situations, I mean, as ECOCs, because you have several institutions and organizations implementing the program. It means that, you know, not everybody needs to cater for everybody. You can have those organizations or institutions that, you know, treat those audiences and those audiences, and in this way you can cover the whole spectrum of people. Of course, we encourage also cross-sections and collaboration between different communities and groups of interest. So this may be another level of collaborative projects. And then what I wanted to say, that not every project needs to be for everyone. And also sometimes you have to trade and maybe lose someone to gain someone else. But also you can also concentrate on communication with those who you potentially can lose because of introducing the new group, and try to make them part of the process of introducing new group and explaining what is important for you and why you include other people. And in this way, again, mix them rather than, you know, just delete them from your spectrum. So I think that they might be different strategies, but then in practice it might look differently.
Yeah, I would say in practice, if you don't want to exclude anyone, make sure you don't say no to anyone. I know that in our case, we listened to every single idea, and we were open to every single idea that people came up with. How difficult in the beginning they may have sounded. I remember an example of a journalist who came to us and said, in Leeuwarden we have a prison, we have a police agency and police station, and we have a refugee center for girls that have been victims of lover boys, and that is heavily protected to make sure that they're not being kidnapped by these boys again, to prevent that they go back into prostitution. I want to open these worlds for visitors, which was a very interesting idea. But how to enter a prison, how to work with prisoners together, and in the end, I mean, we had to get approval from all the ministers, but we managed to put a beautiful production together, which was made by these girls that had worked in prostitution with the prisoners that were imprisoned for many years, telling their stories, and the police station that was located in between these two locations. And also, when you link that to your question about expectations, and also about artistic expectations, because there's also quite often the question that we got: if your program is open for everyone, how do you expect that it doesn't become a kind of a fun fair where you can just go to, and that you lose the quality of certain of the artistic program as a whole? But I think you just have to look at that from event to event. I mean, if you organize an exhibition, you want to have an exhibition of the highest artistic quality that there is. If you want to work on a theater production that is made by prisoners and by girls that have fled the most horrible situation that they were caught up with, you don't speak about artistic quality. You speak about completely different things. So it also depends on the experiences that you can expect from, depending from event to event.
Okay, I know we don't have a lot of time, so this is your chance to ask questions. Tartu 2024. Nava is here.
Yes, thanks for great discussion. One idea that caught my mind is trust. It's something that I see is relevant in our region. The kind of like a lot of grassroots cultural activities, community activities are kind of trust building. They make people trust people they don't know yet, that you have this kind of automatic trust that people who are, whom you don't know, who are from abroad, can be trusted. And I would ask from Leeuwarden, as you have the most recent experience, and you've also included your region to a great scale, was this kind of like trust discussed? I mean, the trust in people from abroad, trust in artists, trust in unknown. Did you discuss this in the region? Like, will the people in the region trust the art and the artists and people from other parts of Europe coming and doing something together? And on the other hand, what were the outcomes? Is there more trust in Friesland, for example?
Thank you for a very interesting question. If we look at specifically the context of Leeuwarden-Friesland, what is interesting to know is that the candidacy actually started as a regional candidacy. It was the province that initiated the process of becoming a candidate for the European Capital of Culture project. But as a region, you cannot put yourself forward in the bidding process to win the title. At a certain moment, the entire candidacy was transferred to Leeuwarden, the capital of the region. So the focus was also on Leeuwarden 2018. That's also how we put ourselves forward in the candidacy process and how we also marketed ourselves. After But I have to say, in that time, it was already clear that we would include the entire region. It was something that was clear from the beginning onwards. 50% of the events, at least, will take place in the region. However, after winning the European Capital of Culture title, the biggest problem that we faced was that the region actually saw it as literally a party that takes place in Leeuwarden. So there was no need to say, look, why should I contribute to Leeuwarden 2018? But also from the different municipalities that form the entire region. From a financial perspective, we were faced with the same trouble. Like, listen, it's a party that takes place in Leeuwarden. To work on restoring that link, so to speak, we just gave many presentations throughout the entire region from 2014 up till 2018, several evenings a week. And again, we didn't say no to any single invitation that we got, even if there were 5 people in a room and we had to be there at 8 o'clock in the evening after working day. We were there, and I mean, yeah, sometimes you drove home and you think, hey, was it really worth it? But if you add that all up, and if you do that all as a team throughout the entire process, in the end, I think that absolutely helped. From an artistic point of view, it was actually very interesting to see that there was that people really saw the opportunity that the European Capital of Culture title gave to work internationally, and that people also saw that it opened doors that it normally wouldn't open, and in particularly for smaller cultural organizations and for independent artists. I mean, if you look at a museum or a theater, they usually have their international network already. For them it's interesting as well, but for the smaller organizations, it really opened up doors, and it also led to the fact that in total we put a program together with over 1,600 international corporations. And I think if you compare that with the national corporations that we managed to set up, that our international component was actually stronger than our national one.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, hello. I just wanted to ask a question concerning, audience engagement. A lot of efforts are done before the ECOC year, during the ECOC year. Is there a strategy into place in order to make the follow-up after the ECOC year? Because most of the teams have a lot of cultural managers, project managers who are giving hand to all these associations or municipalities around. What is happening after the ECOC year with this audience engagement development? I think there should be a strategy into place in order to have an impact on the long term.
Thank you. That was my last question.
Can I answer in the ideal world? Capacity building in the audience engagement and audience development on the very broad scale, not only in the city but also in the regions. And I must also, very regrettably, because I'm NGO sector, but I must say that cultural institutions are driving your legacy forward because they have a stable financing and more stable teams. So do include them as much as you can and be sure that they understand your mission, and they also extend their capacities in audience engagement, and they use this opportunity to build their audiences before, during, and then they will benefit after the year as well, and then everybody will benefit from this.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any recipes for an ideal world? What was your strategy?
Yeah. Well, for the experts that work, or for the people I have to say that work with European Capitals of Culture and that work in the teams, most of them know that there is an evaluation and monitoring process that takes place until the year before you organize the event. So you have a meeting after you win the title, you have a meeting throughout halfway through the process, and if there's a need to discuss things in more detail, that's also possible. The jury can, or the selection monitoring panel can visit your city then. I always feel that one last meeting is missing, and that's the legacy meeting, just to come together with part of the legacy team, or the mayor, or representatives of the cultural infrastructure 1.5 years or 2 years after the event, and literally ask, okay, well, you had the opportunity to host this event. We, as the European Union, made money available for it. You made money available for it. What's the state of things at this moment, 2 years after the European?
But for our defense, I can say that our panel, that the rules have changed 4 years ago, and in this 4 years, we managed to do the guidelines for evaluation, for marketing. You have now the call for the tender for helping ECOCs to build the capacities, and this is, I think, our last dream. I mean, our last, because my mandate ends next year. To have a common evaluation scheme that actually allows us to compare also ECOCs. However, of course, it's very difficult because each of the cities is different, has different program, but at least European dimension could have some kind of fil rouge for all the evaluations to allow us to compare. However, again, you are a part of the old decisions, and those who got the title from 2020, so starting from Rijeka and Galway, they have different situation, and I think that also they put, at least I hope so, they put more emphasis on good evaluation procedures, meaning that you have baseline data, and then you have final data collection, and then you can also compare your own city before and after the title. Because I think that in the past that might happen that there was lack of the baseline data, and there was an evaluation. And as I said, you can do everything with the statistics. You can just pick up the data and present your event as successful. And I believe that every event is successful in some parts and possibly less successful in other. And then, at least sharing it within the community, not necessarily with the media and making big, mess in your city about, less successful elements, but, genuine discussion with colleagues, at least, from other European capitals of culture would build the quality of ECOC, and this is something that at least the panel for the past 4 years very much care about, to help you to make better European capitals of culture. So although I wave here as a monitoring panel member, we are actually here to help you in all the way we can. Because we care about European capital of culture and European values and European dimension. Well, I just keep the fingers crossed for you. I've forgotten the question already. I speak too much.
And the last question, okay?
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Daiva for her question about the failures. But I would like also to share my disappointment because I couldn't hear a lot of failures. And by my experience, I know that the European Capital of Culture is not a paradise. It's not a hell either. But yeah, but I understand you. But I have a question to Tamara. You mentioned the European Youth Capital. Do you count on involving the people working for that event for 21? Because you can have them as volunteers. They have some experience. I know, thanks to my experience from Novi Sad, that communication is not as easy. But I think that you shouldn't waste that opportunity. And this is more my advice to you, to work with them.
Yes, thank you for the question. We are having a cooperation with the Youth Capital, yes. One of the legacy projects of Novi Sad 2021, and also the European Youth Capital is starting a volunteering service in Novi Sad. We never had it before. So this is one of the great things for Novi Sad. We have almost 1,000 volunteers engaged in the programs, and what's very nice thing is that there are elderly people involved in the projects. So yes, we are having the cooperation. Last month we were having a conference, The Future of Europe, which one segment was in cooperation with Open's European Youth Capital. Yeah.
Thank you. So I want, we have to finish because the screen is saying time's up. And I want to thank you, all the speakers and the audience, which was very patient. Thank you very much. And I have just to say a few sentences that for me, as from the team of Kaunas 2022, but also a person from a cultural sector, this forum is there's a great opportunity to meet our cultural partners, where you can feel as a family. We can share the great positive and negative experiences, where you can cry on the shoulder of your colleague, and also it feels like a family reunion. And we already have people who are coming back. Hopefully we will have a fan club from some cities. And I also hope that this event will become a major year event for our cultural sectors. That's my wish. Thank you very much. And then Virginia, our CEO, is going to tell you some words. Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everyone who participated, and especially to our speakers and participants of discussions. Without you, this event would be not available at all. And just wanted to invite our foreign guests who most probably haven't had a chance to see arena, how it looks inside. Sports arena, I mean, because local people, of course, they visited many times. So if you have a wish to see inside, so follow us after. So thank you.
Just before we have this nice journey to an empty arena, I hope so, because there are also basketball teams working there, so I hope we don't find them in the middle of their job. But just before we say goodbye to each other, I wanted also to thank everyone who participated. We had 2 amazing days of connecting, Agata wished us to share and care more. I think all of your participation, demonstrated a lot of sharing of the knowledge, and we talked, and it's nice to talk sometimes and share the experiences, but actually we're now going back to our work, which is not always that ideal and not so successful sometimes, but I hope that you leave inspired and reassured that your work and your mistakes have meaning and make difference. And I hope to see you soon next time in the same forum. But also before leaving, I really wanted to say thanks to all the team members who worked on this amazing event. It was a huge dedication of the team as well. Maria, I'd like you to come here. Maria was the person who took care of all the forum and worked night and day to ensure the best quality and the best experience for all of you. And Sarah also was here just before. Sarah, come on here. Sarah, who hosted all of our guests who came in such a big number here, and also the technical team and all the curators who became stage managers for these 2 days. Thank you all, and thanks to communication team who was always mediating, writing, posting pictures from all of you. So
and the translators, thank you very much.
Translators, bravo. And again, for all of the guests who came here, found that time in their busy schedules and to share these amazing, inspiring examples. Thank you. And see you next year.